and welcome to another edition of App Stories. This is a special live edition coming from the MacStories Discord with two unexpected hosts, myself, Jonathan, and Nilian.
Hello.
Because John is stranded. Hi, Nilian. John is stranded in Apple Park and cannot get back to his hotel to record. And Federico has had a nightmare with his audio interface, which does not want to work for him. So we are now stepping in. Yes, thank you, Ron. Brave hosts to cover our initial off-the-cuff thoughts and hot takes from today. So I think we should start from the beginning. We had a ridiculous intro of them
God, yes.
skydiving, which was quite incredible, really.
Featuring Apple plane and Apple backpacks.
Yeah. I want to know how much of that was CGI and how much of that was real, because it looked pretty convincing, but I don't think they recorded it all. So
do you know what this reminded me of? Some Google I/O about 10 years ago or whatever, when one of the two CEOs jumped off the plane and into Moscone Center to demo Google Glass. Does that ring a bell?
Oh, I wonder if that was a little nudge at them, maybe. To be honest, what it reminded me of was, I think it was for the Olympics for London, when the Queen parachuted into the stadium. Obviously not the Queen, but that's kind of what it reminded me of, which I'm not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing. But yeah, we got off to a great start, and we got some Apple TV Plus trailers. I was excited to see that. There's some lots of little glimpses of some exciting shows and movies to come. Any that jumped out for you? That you're looking forward to?
Severance Season 2.
Long awaited.
Hyped. Yeah.
I think between that and Silo, there was Silo and Slow Horses. I'm very excited for them. So yeah, it looked great. So I think very good stuff coming. They just got to make sure people watch it now. So get more people to watch it.
I saw somebody mention that this has replaced the retail segment at the beginning of their keynotes.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. I guess it's all about services now, isn't it? So pushing that a bit more. I was interested not to see nothing about Apple Music today, which was interesting. That's sort of not mentioned at all, which I was quite surprised at.
True.
But I guess we should start with Vision OS. So the funny thing is, we're two hosts who have never used the Vision Pro, so this is a strange one for us to cover.
But it's coming to us soon, right?
It's coming. Yes, finally. We're going to be able to try it in just over 2 weeks.
July 12th.
I'm very excited about. Oh, yes. Is it pre-order? I thought it was the end of June.
Okay, I wrote down July 12th. I don't remember the details.
Oh, I had June 28th in my head. Okay, maybe I'm wrong.
Okay, that's pre-orders.
Definitely coming soon.
Yeah.
Maybe. So there wasn't that much new unveiled on this, was there? Really? I think we were talking in our Discord. Not a whole lot of new features, really, which was quite surprising. What do you think about that?
Yeah, it seems they're doubling down on the entertainment side of things. Bunch of new features, immersive video, which looks impressive. A new way to create spatial photos or something like that. I didn't quite get that.
Yeah, it seems interesting. It looked good, but I guess in practice I don't know how that will look really.
Yeah.
But we did have a recent guest user feature, which was brief. I don't think it was even mentioned. I think it was on the bento box slide, which I think seems like it might be an improvement on the getting your family members to try it out situation, which I think is a bit fiddly at the moment. I know on your new podcast, Comfort Zone, Matt mentioned that that was one of his issues that he had with the current version and restricted him, like sharing it with his wife, for example. So hopefully that's going to be an improvement in that respect. I think Federico actually might be able to join us.
Ooh, there we go.
Federico.
Hello. Hello, I'm back. I fixed whatever issues I was having with my audio interface. I'm back. Hello. Hey, Nilean. Hey, Jonathan.
Hello. Welcome. Well, we were just starting to talk about Vision Pro of Vision OS. So and we were also saying that we are the two hosts who haven't actually used Vision Pro. So probably you're more appropriate to address all these features, which seem to be a bit light on the ground. What was your take on all this?
Yeah. It seems like, and this is maybe a general takeaway, that the company really, really went all in on AI, or Apple Intelligence, as they like to call it, maybe to the expense of more productivity enhancements, especially for, I would say, iPad OS and Vision OS. Of course, iOS is always gonna get stuff like, it's the iPhone's operating system, but I think of all the OSs, it was probably most apparent in Vision OS, where I don't know. I think folks were expecting a lot of improvements for multitasking, window management, all kinds of like maybe an iPad pass through. And if anything, like the real, like there are three features that I think are maybe noteworthy, and two of them are relatively minor. There is mouse support coming later this year, which fine if you want to use a magic mouse. I can't because it makes my hand hurt.
Yeah, same.
There's the Apple only keyboard pass through in an environment. So this only works with a Magic Keyboard or with an Apple laptop keyboard. It doesn't work with third-party keyboards. And this is the third enhancement that I am looking forward to, is the better Mac virtual display. So being able to use ultra wide, and what did they call them? Like wide and ultra wide, or ultra wide
like
and
that.
Mega wide.
Mega ultra wide or something. But yeah, that's the idea, right? So you can, and like that makes me excited because like in my physical space in real life, I cannot put an ultra wide monitor on my desk, even though I would really love to, like especially one of those fancy curved ones, but I don't have the space for it. So now at the very least I can have my curved ultra wide display when I'm using the Vision Pro. So that's nice. But yeah, like, I don't know, I was expecting a little more. It's a new platform. It's a young platform. And it's not even clear, like none of the Apple Intelligence stuff seems to be coming to the Vision Pro this year. It's iOS, iPadOS, and macOS only.
Yeah, I think I was listening to very late in the day, listening to last week's Connected, and I remember Mike saying, if you can't recognize keyboards and use the object occlusion for that, then what are you doing? And yeah, I've got to kind of agree. Really, it felt like there was nothing really significant added to it, and maybe that's just a case of it's coming to the rest of the world soon, so they're just keeping on that same level. But it seemed odd.
Yeah,
like you say, I think the screen enhancements are great, and it seems to be that seems to be their solution to people's wanting to have multiple monitors. They've just gone for an even wider one, which I think is a good decision. But nothing other than that, really. A new gesture, if you want to open your hand.
Yeah. Oh, the new gesture. Yes, the new gesture. You open your hand, you show the home screen, and it seems like Apple saw at the very least, they also saw the just how many utilities have come out on Vision OS in the first few months of the Vision OS App Store to sort of mimic like this digital status bars, and like, so now you will be able to perform the new gesture to sort of show the time, show the battery with just your hand, and then if you want from there you can open Control Center. So at the very least they saw the need for better and faster ways to see the battery, which is nice. But yeah, I would say relatively minor stuff. I think of all the operating systems, I mean, We're going to talk about this and iPad OS. But I think Vision OS 2 is probably my biggest disappointment today, I think.
Yeah, it kind of was a bit, but I haven't tried it yet, so it's still going to be all new with me next month. So that's great.
But hey, at least you'll get. Nilian, was France part of the countries that they announced?
Yes, it was. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Nice. So yeah, at the very least, Italy is not part of the
is it not?
countries.
Oh, is it not?
No.
Oh, no.
No.
I
no,
didn't
Italy.
realize. Okay.
Yeah. Jonathan, talk to me about WatchOS, because that was the part of the keynote where I started writing my own article, so I got distracted. I have no idea. I literally have no idea what they announced.
Okay, right. Well, I'm almost finished on my article of that. That'll be on the site soon. And there was some interesting stuff. It was mainly just around kind of workout, a little bit of health in there. So I guess the two main ones were this addition of this feature called Training Load, which measures your exertion essentially in your workouts over the course of 7 days and compares it to the previous 28 days, and then figures out how these workouts are affecting your body and whether you're overexerting yourself, what's the most optimum time to train, that's going to get the best results out of your body, which is an interesting app. Actually, I actually use an app called Athletic, which I think was recommended by I can't remember who it was in the MacStories Discord. Discord recommended this a while ago, and it's very similar. Really, it gives you details after your workout, and it'll estimate an exertion for that workout, and you can adjust that, and that will give you a line graph over time, and you can sort of see how you're doing. I guess it's a better way of measuring your exercise without having to go into third-party apps. I guess it's keeping you more within the Apple ecosystem. So that was interesting. There was Vitals, which is sleep data. Sleep data from overnight, which covers your heart rate, your respiratory rate, your blood oxygen levels, and gives you a sort of a level overnight over the course of the week, 7 days, and you can see how that's progressing over the week, and then your watch will alert you when you are going outside of your normal zones, and will give you suggestions as to how to correct that, maybe stress or less alcohol, that sort of thing. So that was interesting. There was also a pregnancy feature where if you're pregnant, it will prompt you with more things like checking in with your heart rate, elevation, and things like that, which is certainly going to be a new addition an interesting addition for people who are pregnant. And then I think the main thing with the actual operating system was in the Smart Stack widgets, which is adding in several intelligent additions. So if it's about to rain, it will add in a widget in there showing you that it's about to rain. One thing that I thought was quite fun was if you travel to another country, it will automatically add the translate widget, which is new in this version of the operating system. So say if I'm traveling to see my wife's family in Spain, it will automatically add the translate widget to my Smart Stack, and then you can tap that and use it as a normal translate app, which I think is fantastic. Really. It's a nice little touch. Interactive widgets and live activities, which you can use with third-party apps. They demoed an example with Uber, showing a Lyft arrive. And double tap API. So the double tap gestures that have been previously available.
Finally.
The Apple's own apps, there's now an API. So third-party apps can take advantage of that. And then finally, within the fitness app itself, you can adjust the layout of that to show different favorite workout statistics and so forth. And probably the most requested feature on the Apple Watch for a long time is the ability to pause your activity rings. for a day or several days, however long you want, without losing any progress on your streaks, which finally.
It only took them 10 years, but they got there.
You're allowed to rest now.
Now you can rest.
Yes.
Well, that's nice. That's nice, though. That's nice. That's big finally.
Yeah. So some nice stuff. Not groundbreaking, but yeah. What was your takes on that, guys?
Well, this is gonna sound boring, but I just really wanted to see third-party watch faces, and it's just not gonna happen. It's never gonna happen. I mean, we literally got the rest days feature before. They're never gonna do third-party watch faces. So, I'm actually intrigued by the Vitals app. Anything that tells me I'm not gonna die, I think is helpful in my book. So that seems like a pretty helpful feature to have. And rest days, smaller update for sure, as is maybe the trend this year. But I think I actually like this more than Vision OS. I don't know. I think it's
there's actually some more stuff in there.
Not too bad.
There's actually some considerable stuff in there. I think it'd be interesting. I don't quite know how much, but it'd be interesting to see how much. And this was kind of a theme today. Was Sherlocking. There was a lot of that going on across all the platforms, but the Vitals app, I'm not sure how much that Sherlock's something like Sleep Plus Plus from David Smith, and I'm sure his app does it much better, but it's kind of encroaching on that territory a little bit, I think. So it'll be interesting to see how that's plays out when it will be used.
Yeah.
So yeah. Nilian, any thoughts on WatchOS?
I mean, I don't even wear my watch anymore, so
nothing convinced you to put it on anymore that was unveiled.
I'm just disappointed that it didn't get rid of the big clock in the stack. The smart stack.
Yeah, that's not great.
Yeah, I wish you could get rid of that, but that's it.
Okay, well, I guess we should move on to iOS?
No, macOS. I want to know about macOS first. macOS, Nilean. You're writing your macOS overview.
Yep.
What's coming? What's coming on macOS? And what do you think about it?
So first, it's got an amazingly beautiful wallpaper. I love it. I want it. It's bright yellow and blue. Looks like the sky is shining bright on your desktop. Yeah. I love it. But apart from that, it's called Sequoia.
Very
and I
nice
can't
name.
spell it right. Yeah, it's really nice.
Oh, no. It's the same word in Italian. This was my pick on Connected. I mentioned that they're going to call it Sequoia. And it helps that it's also, we write the name of the tree, the Sequoia tree, exactly the same in Italian. So that's very convenient for me this time around.
Perfect.
It's accepted in both of the keyboards that I use on my iPhone. Both Italian and English know how to spell check that word. So that's convenient.
What was your logic? What was your logic behind picking that name, Federico? Because I don't know how you.
I just thought it sounded cool. My pitch was it sounded cool, and my tentative marketing tagline was taking macOS to new heights or something like that.
Okay.
But which I guess they didn't use. I don't know. It just sounded neat. Yeah.
Yeah, it's impressive to me that you would know places in California. I have no idea what Sequoia is.
No, me neither. I just know that it exists. So
all right.
Yeah, I guess. So apart from the wallpaper, what's
apart from that, real features. iPhone mirroring, it's amazing. I think it's amazing. It's both unexpected and impressive. It's a feature where you can now mirror your iPhone on the Mac desktop, and you can interact with it. So you can actually use your mouse trackpad and just click on your iPhone mirrored on your desktop in a window, and you can use your iPhone apps on your desktop while the iPhone remains, the real iPhone remains locked. And even if you have it in standby mode, it stays in standby mode. So that's nice. Oh, and notifications. So the iPhone will forward notifications to your Mac, And if you click those notifications, they open in iPhone mirroring mode, I guess, directly on the Mac, so you don't have to jump to between your two devices. So that's really nice, a really nice surprise. It's a nice addition to the continuity features that we've had, universal clipboard, etc., sidecar. But those were often focused on the iPad, and here we're finally getting one that focuses on the iPhone.
Yeah, that's amazing. I especially loved when I saw the demo, like the keyboard integration. So you can, it sort of feels like it kind of feels like reverse sidecar in a way. Like instead of bringing Mac OS to another display, you're bringing your iPhone to your Mac, and you can still interact with your iPhone using your Mac's keyboard. Like that is like, it looked really incredible to me. And the fact that your iPhone stays locked, or if it's in standby, it stays in standby. Like I continue to think that the continuity stuff, like the continuity team at Apple does some of the most remarkable work at the company. I think like every single feature that they build, like from sidecar to handoff, now this iPhone mirroring, obviously the Mac virtual display in Vision OS, like that team at Apple, I hope they make a lot of money because they deserve a lot of money for what they built.
Yeah, I think that was interesting, the iPhone mirroring, because I guess it serves two purposes. One, you can interact with the iPhone, and like they show dragging a video clip across to the iPhone to an app on the iPhone, which seems like it could be quite handy. But I guess it's great because you can just have your iPhone on the stand, and when you get a message or an alert or something, you don't have to keep picking it up, which is something I find myself doing a lot when I'm working. I can see the iPhone going off or an alert going off, and I'm like, oh, I've got to answer that. But I could just quickly do it and then minimize the iPhone mirroring on my Mac without having to fiddle around with my phone. So I think that could be really handy for just to keep you in the flow with your work, I guess. And actually probably would prompt me to use standby. Yes, sorry. It probably prompt me to use that more because I would keep using that, and then I'd get a notification, and then I want to do something with the notification. So then I'd have to rotate the phone again, tap on the notification, open up the app and do that. And so in the end, I've kind of not really been using standby very much because of that. So that might encourage, I think, myself and some more people to use it more, which is a good thing. So yeah, that's great. What have we got next, Nilian?
Next, tiling windows. You can tile windows together now.
I saw that. That honestly, I think Sherlock's so many utilities. I mean, I always hoped they were gonna do it, and they finally did it. So that's nice.
The day has come, and Apple says it comes with keyboard shortcuts. I wonder how customizable those will be, and if there are enough of them.
So I'm going to say there's not enough, probably. That's going to be my guess.
Yeah, probably. And I wonder if at the same time they added keyboard shortcuts to Stage Manager or something like that. It didn't say anything about it. Maybe. Let's not keep our hopes up. Then updates to video conferencing. You'll be able to preview what you are sharing when you start screen sharing in Zoom, for instance. You'll be able to replace your background on video calls. So that's system-wide features. So I'm guessing that will be usable in anywhere you can use your webcam. Updates to Safari. I noticed it's not mentioned anywhere, but I noticed the new tab page has a slightly redesigned UI. But most importantly, get highlights in the address bar. Highlights. It's one of those Apple intelligence feature, I guess, where it picks up information on web pages and lets you jump to a TV show in Apple TV, to music in Apple Music, see a summary of the page, get directions in Apple Maps.
Yeah, it wasn't quite clear how much they were sort of getting the highlights, how much of a highlight it would get. I mean, I some of the redesigned reader mode, which I guess we could talk about too, is has the ability to have almost like get chapters for an article that you're reading, and then it provides a summary, which looks great, but my cautiousness I would caution that how accurate is that summary going to be? We're getting down that whole sort of hallucination path with AI. So I guess in practice we'll find out, but I don't know. I'm a little bit cautious about that one, to be honest, even though it does look very handy.
Yeah, the way this is designed, the redesigned reader view, the table of contents, at least, it's on the side, and the summary as well. It's on the side and below the table of contents.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing that's better than if it was at the top or replacing the preview at all. But
yeah, should be. Hopefully it's good. We keep our fingers crossed about that. I guess game porting. We should talk about that, right?
Yeah, you used this, Nilean, before. You wrote an article about this.
I did. Yeah, I'm really excited about this because currently it's really raw. In that you have to install a bunch of stuff to get it started if you want to port yourself a game using this. But they only said that game porting toolkit, so it's called GPT-2, game porting toolkit 2. It's got an improved compatibility with Windows games, and it makes it easier to bring games to the iPad and iPhone as well. So I guess we'll see. I will definitely play with it. I want to try again the City Skylines on the Mac through this.
Yeah, definitely. I'm going to give it a try. I think I kept meaning to do it after your article and never got around to it, but this hopefully give me a little push to do that. Anything else on Mac OS? I mean, a lot of these other things were covered in iOS, or they're just across the thing.
Yeah, that's the thing. They mentioned the Passwords app in the macOS section, but that's this thing where it's actually available everywhere, but they mentioned it in the macOS section arbitrarily, I guess. But
because I think we were in the Discord channel, and it was funny, after they finished iOS, a lot of people were saying, "What? There's no Passwords app. Oh no, there's no Passwords app." But it turned out it was in macOS, and then it was across all platforms. So yeah, they're obviously beefing up the macOS section a little bit by moving passwords over to there. But it looked good. Federica, you've just moved your passwords across?
Yeah.
I did, and in fact, I just opened the Passwords app. I have iOS 18 on my phone, and I have the iPad in the other room, which must have done the update by now. And I found the passwords icon on my home screen, and it had all of my passwords that I migrated over the weekend. So they just moved from settings to the dedicated Passwords app. So that's cool. And it seems like so far it doesn't have support for secure attachments. Like, for example, you cannot have files. I don't see any file field, which is one of the things that I miss from 1Password. It does seem like you can have multiple website URLs at least. I'm not sure if that was possible before. Yeah, you can add multiple websites to a login, but I don't see a field for attachments, unfortunately. So I'll have to figure something out for my attachments.
This episode of App Stories is brought to you by Collide. What do you call an endpoint security product that works perfectly but makes users miserable? It's a failure. The old approach to endpoint security is to lock down employee devices and roll out changes through forced restarts, but it just doesn't work. IT is miserable because they've got a mountain of support tickets, employees start using personal devices just to get their work done, and executives opt out the second that they're late to a meeting. You can't have a successful security implementation unless you work with end users. That's where Collide comes in. Their user-first device trust solution notifies users as soon as it detects an issue with their device and teaches them how to solve it without needing help from IT. That way, untrusted devices are blocked from authenticating, but users don't stay blocked. Collide is designed for companies with Okta, and it works on macOS, Windows, Linux, and mobile devices. So if you have Okta and you're looking for a device trust solution that respects your team, visit collide.MacStoriesUnwind and watch a demo to see how it works. That's KOLIDE.com/MacStoriesUnwind. Our thanks to Collide for their support of the show.
Shall we move on to iOS and iPadOS?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm working on the iOS and iPadOS article. There isn't much to say about iPadOS really, in the sense that it gets most of the features from iOS, which I'll get to in a minute. The one iPad-specific improvement, I think, is the new tab bar layout. So there's this new sort of Vision OS-inspired kind of floating top bar design that sort of lets iPad apps go more edge to edge, so moving tabs from the bottom of the screen to a floating design at the top. And this tab bar, which again sort of feels like a Vision OS UI element, but displayed toward the top of the screen or in the center of the screen, as we've seen from document-based apps. This floating tab bar then automatically collapses into a sidebar, so it can also become a sidebar on the vertical left side of the screen. And then, generally speaking, it's advertised as a way for apps to fill more space on screen with content, which I think is a nice change, and it's definitely one of the things that sort of takes advantage of the iPad's form factor and the iPadOS UI more. But that is pretty much it, unfortunately, in terms of what is actually changing for iPadOS. I think I'm going through my notes now, and besides that feature, I think everything else is calculator. Yeah, so the calculator app is coming to the iPad, and I should also mention, like, in addition, that's not fair. I should also mention the Apple Pencil enhancements. So the calculator is coming to the iPad, obviously inspired by the iPhone, but taking advantage of the bigger display. It comes with history conversion, with a history view, with unit conversion. It integrates with the Apple Pencil using this feature called Math Notes that honestly looked incredible from the demo. The idea being that it's this free-form space where you can handwrite your mathematical expressions and equations, and as soon as you tap on the equal sign, iPadOS and the calculator app, they sort of perform the calculation and present the result to you in almost real time using a version of your own handwriting. So the OS is replying to you with the result by mimicking your own handwriting, which is of course done all on device, machine learning, Apple Intelligence, and all of that. And these math notes, so you can save them, you can come back to them later. They support variables, so you can have, like, they actually showed these pretty complex drawings with like inline expressions and variables, and you can rearrange the variables, you can declare them elsewhere, and then if you want, you can even create graphs from your equations, which looked pretty incredible. And I get the sense that, of course, like calculator, in bringing calculator to iPad, Apple wanted to sort of productize calculator, and I think they've done a pretty good job. Like, it's along the same lines of notes, reminders, and freeform, for example. I wouldn't be surprised if it's literally the same team that revitalized notes before, now taking care of calculator on the iPad. And speaking of notes, there's a Math Notes integration in the Notes app as well. So the two apps are working together side by side to enable that feature in there as well. That's pretty much it. Like, and speaking of the Apple Pencil in Notes, there's a new feature called Smart Script that uses an on-device model to, again, recreate your own handwriting style. And then it does some processing to sort of make it look nicer. Like it smooths it out, it straightens it, it makes it more legible. You can take, for example, some copied text from any other app, and then when you paste it into a handwritten section, it gets pasted into something that resembles your own handwriting with your own style. And it supports spell checking and all of that. Like, it's pretty remarkable what they've done. So I would sum up the changes to iPadOS under three major additions: the new tab bar design, calculator, and related to that, math notes, and Apple Pencil, like Apple Pencil improvements. That because of course, like, in addition to those, then iPadOS simply gets the improvements from iOS as well. On the iOS side, before we talk about Apple Intelligence, big focus once again on customization. This is something that Apple is now doing every year, essentially. You can arrange your icons and place them, icons and widgets. You can place them anywhere on screen. You can create blank spaces, empty spaces. You can put them to the bottom. You can put them off to the side. You can customize your icons. So the idea being that you can enable a dark mode for icons when you switch to the system dark appearance, or you can tint the icons. And it appears that Apple is sort of enforcing this tint mode on app icons, so everybody needs to use them. And you can choose from tints that are sort of automatically suggested by the system based on your wallpaper's color, or you can just go in and use a color picker and pick whatever tint color you want. So you can make all of your icons look purple or green or whatever. And, the combination of colors and the custom layouts, I'm sure they will open the door to a lot of like crazy home screen layouts that people can create. And something that I noticed on my own iPhone just a few minutes ago is you can now resize widgets in line.
Nice.
So you can take a widget long, just like you can on macOS. So you can long press on one. You can say, make it smaller, make it medium, make it large, without having to redo the whole delete and re-add dance over and over again.
That's very good. Cool. The icons, the dark mode ones looked really nice. I really like those. But you mentioned about enforcing the color, single colors over all the icons. Is that also including third-party apps as well?
Yeah, so the way that this works is not as much as it's tinting the icon itself. I'm going to try my best to describe this. It's not actually tinting the icon. It's more like it's applying a filter on top of every icon and widget. For example, I just entered customization mode on my home screen, and I tapped on the, I entered, like, you enter customization just like always, like you just long press on the home screen. There's a new edit button in the top left, and when you enter that and choose customize, there's 4 options. Automatic, so that switches the icons between light and dark mode. Always dark, always light. You can choose between small and large. The large version it makes the icons bigger by getting rid of the label of each icon. Like if you choose the large option, the text labels are gone. I love that. But your icons are huge as a result. So I would have actually preferred like small without labels, but hey, file a feedback. Then there's the tinted option. Now the tinted option, it just applies, for example, by default, the system here picked the blue color because I have a blue wallpaper. It just applies a blue tint on top of every icon. So for example, the ivory icon, I use the one with the orange glyph and the white background. It just applies a blue filter on top of it. So ivory actually cannot do anything. It almost looks like one of those filters that you could enable for accessibility for like color blindness. It kind of reminds me of that. But now it just applies to every single icon. So like I can slide it to the green and it just applies a green filter on top of everything. And it doesn't look like you can selectively choose which icons get it. Like it applies to every icon, every widget on the page. So,
I wonder how much pushback they're going to get back on that.
It's like from developers.
Because especially from big brands as well, someone like Instagram or something like that, they might have something to say about that. I mean, I work with brands every day. That's my job, and it's not something that people like at all. Having their brand messed with. There's brand guidelines and all these sorts of things. And if someone can just change the color of that. I don't know. Maybe they might let it go because people can do it. It's only on their phone. It's not sort of outwardly facing, publicly facing. It's just that to the individual user. But I don't know. I suspect we're going to get some pushback on that from brands, to be honest. But it'll be interesting to see. It all looks really interesting, though.
Customization also extends to Control Center. So the multi-page Control Center is making a huge comeback. It was last seen in iOS 10. And Control Center is getting its biggest redesign since iOS 11. That's when when the modern Control Center design was introduced. Now, the new Control Center, every control is a little bit more rounded than before. There's some circular controls. The other controls have more rounded edges. But the big news here is that you have this multi-page design with this multiple groups of controls along the right edge of Control Center. So you have your favorites, which is the first default page. The second group is music. The third group is home controls, and the fourth one is just radios. So like airplane mode, Wi-Fi, cellular, Bluetooth, and all of that. Now, the idea here is that Apple sort of learned, I think, from their lesson in iOS 10, where it was kind of clunky to navigate between pages of Control Center. Here, when you swipe down, by default, if you swipe down quickly from the status bar, you always land on the first page. But if you swipe down and keep swiping, then you can instantly and quickly go to a specific page of Control Center. So it's much nicer, I think, than it used to be in iOS 10, where you had to swipe horizontally, and it was very clunky because you had to bring it up vertically before and then swipe across horizontally, and it was very cumbersome. Now you can just either choose to quickly invoke the default page, which is the favorites, or keep swiping and select which specific page you want to go to. Now, on the first page, the big news here is that you have the same customization options as the home screen, effectively, and I like how Apple is bringing some consistency here to, like, effectively now you can customize the home screen, the lock screen, and Control Center using what kind of feels like the same system all across these different features. You can resize the controls. So just like on the home screen, you can resize almost any control in Control Center. And there is a controls gallery. So the controls gallery allows you to customize your controls right there from Control Center instead of going to settings. And it also lets you add additional controls, which include third-party controls, because finally there's a controls API for third-party developers. But there's more. Because Apple, and how they love to reuse their existing technologies in multiple places? Well, now this Controls API is also used to finally customize your flashlight and camera shortcuts on the lock screen. And every control used by the control, available via the Controls API, can also be assigned to the action button. So you have that sort of communication all across different system features. They all sort of feed into the Controls API. Action button, Control Center, lock screen shortcuts, they are all based on the same technology, which I think is a really cool idea. And I'm testing it now. I can, for example, switch my the flashlight command to a shortcut. So I can say open app from a shortcut, or, there's accessibility stuff, there's ping my watch, there's tap to cash. So if you want, you can press a button on your lock screen to pay somebody, with cash, because why not? So yeah, that's Control Center. And I go quickly to the other things. You can lock any app using Face ID, Touch ID, or your passcode. There's on-device categorization coming to Mail later this year. Doesn't look like it'll be ready for September. So basically, it'll be like Gmail, with Mail automatically categorizing messages using different sections like transactions, updates, promotions, and so forth. Messages is getting a bunch of improvements, which are available today. Colorful tapbacks. So the tapback reactions have been redesigned, and you can finally use any emoji that you want. You can schedule messages to send later. So no more complex workarounds to make this happen. You can now schedule a message for later, just like you can schedule an email for later. Text effects. that you can apply to both phrases and emoji. New effects picker that has a live preview, and text formatting options. So you can make your text bold, italic, underlined, or strike through. And we're going to talk about the emoji in a few minutes with I was going to say artificial, with Apple Intelligence. And then the one thing, and then just let me give you guys, I guess, a little preview of something that Apple didn't mention. I just opened Reminders, and Reminders says, of course, Reminders in Calendar. So Apple did mention this, but there's three more things. There's a recently deleted list. There's subtasks in Smart Lists. And under the and lots more, try new shortcuts in the Shortcuts app. Reorder sections in your today list. And this is a big one for me and Nilean, I hope. Enable other languages for your grocery list and settings.
Oh, there we go.
So I'm happy to confirm that I should be getting my pick for connected, because now in the settings app, just like on Vision OS, all of your apps settings live under a new apps section. So if I want to find my reminder settings, I need to go into settings, apps, and then I need to find reminders, and I can confirm with you the languages. Let me see. So grocery list, can I enable Italian? Additional language is none. No. Okay. Nilean, you're lucky. I am not. So you can set, in addition to English, Chinese, French, German, Japanese, Korean, and Spanish. So...
but no, boo. What do they have against Italy? No Vision Pro, no translation for grocery lists. They don't want you to make a grocery list that includes a Vision Pro on it. I mean, it's not.
It's fine. It's fine. So obviously there's a lot more coming to iOS that we don't have the time to cover today. I wanted to... Well, I've been speaking for a lot. Apple Intelligence. So obviously Apple Intelligence, I want to know what you guys think.
On one hand, I'm super impressed with some of the stuff that they showed off, like all the writing tools. Like that's some things I'm going to use every day, maybe. The writing tools like proofreading and making sure you can rephrase your texts. That sounds nice. But apart from that, I'm really skeptical of all the things that are image related. And those look really bad. Why are they integrated in messages? I don't like this. But still, on the first hand, Siri has a nice upgrade overall, it seems.
Yeah, definitely, yeah. No, I think my vibe check would be, technically looks very interesting. They seem to be taking a good approach to privacy and the way they're sort of approaching all the different types of the different types of AI that they're using. I think generally quite responsible. However, like Nilian said, the image stuff is just straight hot garbage, some of it. I mean, it's those 3D sort of animated caricatures. There was one person, it took an image of a person and it applied a certain couple of prompts to it, and it created a sort of 3D version of that character, and it looked terrible. Like it looked like a really old early version of a sort of image generation from about a year ago. And no, that was a firm no from me. But there is some really nice stuff, I think, in there. Just a general awareness of what you're doing, what you've got in your calendar and so forth. I think that the demo that Craig did about working out whether he could move his meeting and still make his daughter's performance was interesting. I think that could be applied quite interestingly if you use it in that way. So I'm interested to see a lot of the features, and I think generally quite good, with the exception of the images. But yeah, very keen to try it and see how quick everything is, because we saw the demo, but how is it going to be in real life? So I'm intrigued, I think, bar the images. What about you, Federico?
Mm-hmm. I think I was more impressed by I think there were two sort of pitches for Apple Intelligence, and I was more impressed by one of them. So I think the way Apple presented it was there's the contextual intelligence that draws from your data and how you use apps and sort of like who you are and what you do with your devices. And there was the sort of generative pitch of, hey, you can also create text and you can create images and you can chat with ChatGPT. And I feel like the first part is what I wanted Apple to do, which is show me how you can apply a large language model and a generative model to build upon my data and to shape truly personalized and truly contextual artificial intelligence. And that part of the demo I found impressive. And there was another part of the demo which almost feels like one that Apple was kind of forced to ship and show off today, sort of like, hey, Craig, blink if you're, being held hostage, sort of type thing, where, hey, you can also create images. Wouldn't that be great if you could create an image based on the face of a contact? Or now you can create text and you can compose text. Do you want to make it sound more professional? Do you want to make it sound more friendly? And of course, there was the ChatGPT integration where it kind of, I don't know, my vibe was that I was 50% impressed and 50% bored by it, in the sense that I found one half of the announcement really remarkable and the other half showing a company that felt like they needed to play catch up with other companies, to the point where they had to excitedly talk about the ChatGPT integration, which, I don't know, I all this stuff like that creates images and creates text, and maybe, I speak as a creative person, I find, and I'm always going to find, kind of gross, even if it's done with a really healthy and good set of principles, which, by the way, we are told that apparently Apple is going to publish some AI principles later today. We're told by John, coming
live from a press briefing
from Apple Park. Live from briefing, Apple is going to publish some AI principles. But the thing is, even with healthy AI principles, I'm always going to be kind of grossed out by these generative capabilities. I don't know, just something about it that I don't like. That being said, people are going to love creating their own custom emoji, or as they call them, Genmoji. So that's a name. That's a name, because it's generative and it's for, I'm always going to say this, it's also for Gen Z. Maybe Apple likes to sound all cool and hipster, like, now kids, now you can create emoji. Yeah. I don't know. I feel like I want to see more of the stuff that, like, more of the first part. Like, here's Siri learning from you. Here's Siri taking a bunch of actions in apps on your behalf. Like, more of that stuff. More of Apple showing off how app intents have been enhanced with new domains. More of Apple showing how Siri can take a complex query and perform multiple searches in the background across multiple apps and then bring a result to you. And less of, we don't know how to look up a recipe. Here's a result from ChatGPT for you.
Yeah, I didn't like that at all.
And also worth keeping in mind that the majority of, so none of these features are available today in beta 1. None of it. No Apple Intelligence is available now. Apple Intelligence will be available later this summer. It will be released with US English only support later this year. So it doesn't sound like it's coming in September, because when they say later this year, it's not September. Otherwise, they would say this fall. And like half of those features, like all the new action stuff that they showed off, like Siri performing actions inside of apps, that's coming next year. So yeah, temper your expectations. This was more of an announcement of things that will be coming rather than things that are actually sort of here today. None of it is here in beta 1. Some of it will be available later in the summer, only in US English.
I think that it'll be interesting to see how that affects the public perception of Apple's use of AI, because are people just going to think, oh, Apple's just shoved a bunch of Genmoji and image generation stuff and ChatGPT integration into their operating systems, and are they going to think that that's good, or are they going to think that's bad? And that, or could it be a good thing in that the sort of the hype around, or the fuss around maybe image generation and ChatGPT integration, maybe people creating their images and their Genmojis and so forth, that'll sort of subside a bit, because I don't think that's going to really catch on long term and make a big wave long term. And then later next year will be the significant changes to the operating system, and maybe that will stand out as something more significant that Apple's trying to do. I don't know. I guess it could go either way, really. But in a way, I'm kind of glad that it's maybe separated a little bit, and maybe it'll put more emphasis on the good stuff when that comes out. What do you think?
Yeah, maybe, right? I think, I don't know. Just it's hard to judge right now, especially like because none of it is available.
Yeah.
We're just basing this off of what we saw in the keynote. I think we're gonna see. I think the next few months are gonna be interesting, especially because Apple is integrating with ChatGPT, and I think they have a real. I'm gonna wrap it up by saying this. I think Apple has a real good shot at shipping AI that is practical and truly personalized. I think that's the sort of stuff that I want to see more of. And it seems like that's what's going to take them longer to build out. And so it feels like this is going to be a story split into two parts in the iOS 18 cycle. The first part with the more, I don't want to say generic, but like with the more maybe basic, with the more basic stuff that doesn't really tap into like, performing multiple actions, with Siri and app intents, but more of like, there's a more conversational Siri, like all of that is going to be great. I think we'll need to judge. I think by this time next year, WWDC 25, we'll know whether their plan to really enhance the operating systems will have worked out or not. This is sort of what I'm thinking.
And I guess there's not much in terms of the generative stuff, like the images and the text and so forth. That kind of is what it is. Whereas with the integration with the system, the app intents and so forth, that could only improve, I guess, couldn't it? There's more and more ways that they could improve that and add features and abilities and so forth. So in terms of the curve of quality, I guess the good stuff can still get improved, whereas the generative images and so forth it's just going to be generative images. It's not really going to change much over time, if you get what I mean.
Yeah, and for the former, apps developers can get on board and then can make a difference.
Okay, maybe we should we wrap up?
Right.
Maybe I'm gonna ask, because I wanted to just briefly mention this because it might be my favorite feature, but pick one feature that you're really excited about. I'm gonna go with. I've totally blanked on the name of it, but it's on Apple TV, the feature that allows you to see the actors that are on screen and the music that's playing and so forth.
Insight.
I love that sort of stuff. I'm sort of I've talked about it before on MacStories Weekly, how I have my setup where I can quickly look up actors and so forth and see who's who and what the music is playing. So I don't know if this is what it says about me, but I'm actually really excited about that. But how about you guys? What are you excited for? What feature?
So I'm gonna say customizing my home screen. All right, I just gonna keep it simple. I really wanna dig in and see what I can create with custom layouts and widgets. I feel like I'm gonna have some fun this summer. And if you would allow me to cheat, I would mention Shortcuts has undergone yet another redesign in the editor that I want to play around with. And I want to check out the new features in Apple Notes. The collapsible sections. There's a new look for rich link previews. There's some stuff I want to play around with.
Lilian?
Yeah, I'm going to pick iPhone mirroring. I think I'm going to use that like every day. So I'm really excited for this.
All right. Well, I think we can wrap it up here. Thank you, Jonathan and Nilean, for joining this episode of App Stories and getting started when I was having technical difficulties. This just, the beauty of Apple event days, when the unexpected will always happen at the very last minute. This episode, of course, is part of our WWDC 24 series of episodes. Thank you, Collide, which is the sponsor for this year's WWDC News Hub on MacStories. So thank you for sponsoring the site this week. I also wanted to remind people that John is currently at Apple Park running in between press briefings and different events, and I'm sure we'll hear from John tomorrow and later in the week. I also wanted to thank the entire MacStories team, Jonathan, Nilean, Devon, Sigmund doing an excellent job preparing stories for today and helping me as, I'm busy with iOS and iPadOS 18, and, the rest of the team is also doing excellent work. And of course, last but not least, I want to thank the listeners, especially the people listening live in Discord. We're going to be recording all of our episodes this week live in Discord. And this is a fun thing to do, brings us closer to the community on these special occasions of the year. And, WWDC being the time of the year in the Apple community, it's always fun to do these recordings. We will be back later this week with more App Stories episodes. We will be on MacStories, publishing all night long articles about the announcements from today. And of course, we'll be installing the betas and talking about those betas and those impressions on future episodes of App Stories. And of course, also in MacStories Weekly later this week on Saturday. I think that's it for this day one keynote recap. Say goodbye, Nilean and Jonathan.
Goodbye. I'd like to quickly remind everyone, before we go, if you've got questions, we didn't get to any questions from the Discord today, but drop them into Town Hall Questions channel, and we will get to them either tomorrow or on Thursday. So drop them in there. We'd love to hear from you. But goodbye, and see you next time.